It's a bunch of crazy stories written by the Brothers Grimm. And now you're gonna learn all about them, listening to the Brothers Grimm.
I have been listening to, I think I've told you this, I have been listening to all of my vinyl records from A to Z in alphabetical order.
I have noticed it on Instagram.
Okay, you've noticed it. Great. I got to the Carpenters, and I have to say, Karen Carpenter, and I don't mean to talk ill of the dead, poor thing, because she died of anorexia or some shit.
Correct.
And
Yeah.
drugs. Yeah. Okay. I got this record I found it in the trash, which is where it belongs. There was when I lived in Brooklyn, there was a bunch of records someone had thrown away.
That's a very Brooklyn thing.
It is. And I got some good shit. I got the Star Wars theme. I got Star Wars Disco. I got a lot of Billy Joel. Good. Star Wars Disco is fantastic. But yeah, the Carpenters, I got the Carpenters album and it's terrible. And she does a cover of, it's called Now and Then is the name of the album. And she does a cover of the song Sing a Song by, I don't know who wrote it, but the person I know who sang it was my first crush, Maria from Sesame Street. And she did the version of Sing a Song, and it was fantastic. And I loved it. And Karen Carpenter somehow has less edge on her version than the Sesame Street version. I don't know how she did it. It's again, poor thing, but I'm glad she's dead. I might cut that last part.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, Quaaludes were awfully popular.
Is that what she did?
Oh no, I have no idea. I'm just guessing.
Or you're just making a statement about Quaaludes?
Yeah. Completely uneducated.
That's nothing to do with the Carpenters, but you know what's interesting? Quaaludes. Before you get into the plot again, and I'm sorry, something that Amanda suggested is that I talk about the first line, how quickly it is before I start laughing. And usually it's the second or third line, but I would like to say the line, if I may.
Sure.
Okay. A certain father had two sons, the elder of whom was smart and sensible and could do everything, but the younger was stupid. I loved it. It was some real Goofus and Gallant shit.
Yeah. It sounds like it was written by you. At least that snippet.
And it was,
the younger was stupid.
It was so stupid. If you would, Mr. Johnson, take us through the story of the youth who went forth to learn what fear was.
Yes. So as you said, a father had two sons. The older was smart and capable, but the younger failed to learn or understand really anything. There's one point at which the father asks the older to do something even remotely scary, go get something from the church at night. And the older refuses and says it makes him shudder. The younger one overhears this and wonders aloud what it is to shudder. And they all ignore him because he's an idiot. One day, not long after, the father tells the younger that he needs to learn a skill to earn a living. I think he says actually to earn, you don't even buy your salt. The younger replies that he'd like to learn to shudder for his profession, and the father predictably sighs. Soon after this, the local sexton comes to visit, and the father is complaining of this younger son. The sexton says, "Oh, send him to me, and I'll put him in his place." So sends him off. He teaches him to ring the church bell, and gets him up in the middle of the night to do it every midnight. One night, the sexton goes ahead of the boy and dresses as a ghost to scare him.
As one does.
It's the first thing that popped into my mind.
It's when you know what's something fun that priests do? They hire a young boy and then they get dressed up in some sort of spooky costume in the middle of the night.
And play tricks.
All boys love tricks. I digress. Go on.
So the boy's about to ring the bell and he sees this ghost or ghostly, whatever figure standing on the other side of the sound hole. And he calls to him.
The sound hole.
sounding hole. I don't know whatever they called it.
Like some sort of a hole that the priest enjoys.
Yes, the hole that the priest enjoys. Correct. So he calls out and he says, identify yourself. And the priest is silent because he's playing a ghost. And the boy calls out a second time, identify yourself. What madness is this? Et cetera, et cetera. The priest does not respond. And the third time says, if you do not respond, I'm going to come over there and shove you down the stairs. And the priest thinks to himself, surely he's joking. And no, he runs right over and shoves him down the stairs, rings the bell, and goes back downstairs to the house and goes to bed. Not long after, the wife of the sexton can't seem to find him, wakes up the boy, says, what happened? He went up ahead of you. And the boy says, I didn't see him, but I saw this weird ghostly figure.
Was he dressed in a sheet?
Refused to identify himself, so I pushed him down the stairs. If you're looking for him, go see if that's him. If it is, I'm sorry.
I didn't check or nothing.
Just goes back to sleep. Sure enough, she goes to the bell tower, finds him with a broken leg, moaning and wailing. She freaks out, tells the younger kid's father. The father freaks out. The younger one explains, actually quite rationally. And the father's response is to disown him. Gives him $50 and sends him on his way. I believe dollars is dollars.
Money.
That's my guess. Yeah. He gives him a pittance of money to go seek his life.
Something.
Yeah. So younger son goes out into the world, often repeating, if I could but shudder, out loud all the time. It's his thing now. He comes across a man who offers him to learn to shudder for those $50. Directs him to a recent hanging of 7 and tells him to just hang out there, spend the night. So the youth says, sure. He builds a fire for warmth. He's hanging out and the corpses are blowing in the wind. He decides they're cold because he's cold down by the fire. They must be even colder. So he, one by one, unties them, brings them down and arranges them around the fire for warmth. They don't seem to be thanking him. And at one point, actually, one of them, their clothes catches fire and starts burning. And he puts the fire out and says, well, if you can't be bothered to even stop yourself from catching fire, I'm just going to have to hang you right back up there. So he does. He puts all the corpses back up on the gallows and goes back to sleep by the fire. That man returns in the morning. He says, I still don't know how to shudder, but these corpses, they wouldn't even talk.
It's like, why is that one all burned up?
Yeah.
What happened to his hands? Well, I cut them off and ate them.
That didn't actually happen.
No, that didn't happen.
That happens in part 3.
Okay.
So the man realizes he's not going to get those $50 and he moves on. So the boy proceeds with his, if I could but shudder. Another man rather soon after comes by. He ends up taking him with him to an inn. And they're checking. I'm not sure what this man was intending to do at the inn with the young man.
Oh boy! But
he's just like, come with me. So they're checking in. He's just sort of off in the corner, going, "If I could but shudder. The innkeeper relays a tale of a nearby haunted castle. The king will give his daughter in marriage, sensing a theme, to the first person to spend 3 nights in this castle. So the youth goes to the king, takes up the offer. He says, "Well, this is clearly where I'm going to learn how to shudder." The king says, "Yeah, I'll take you up on the offer. I'll even give you 3 things to go into the castle with you." The youth chooses a fire, a turning lathe, and a cutting board with a knife. Technically 4 things, but we're not going to nitpick here. So he goes to the castle, sets his fire up, settles in for the evening. At midnight, 2 large black cats come out and offer to play cards. He agrees, only if he can see their paws. He then comments on what long nails they have, offers to trim them, and then screws their feet to the cutting board, strikes them dead, and throws their bodies out into the pond. Just felt like it.
So a bit of a sociopath.
Yeah, just maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
This brings more black cats and dogs with glowing red chains. They start trying to pull his fire apart. He just watches this for a bit, and then when he realizes they're starting to pull his fire apart, he hollers and starts attacking them with his knife. Some of them run away. Others he kills and throws into the pond as well. All is finally quiet. He goes to bed in the corner, where there's an actual bed in the corner. He lays down in it, and it comes to life. It bucks all over the castle, taking him on a tour. The youth instead of being scared of it, urges it on faster and faster. They have a wild ride. Finally, it hops a few times and rolls over right on top of him. He finds this dissatisfying. He hops out and sleeps the rest of the night by the fire.
Mm-hmm.
Next day, the king comes and says, wow, this guy's got to be dead. And sure enough, he is not. In fact, he complains that the cats were annoying.
Yeah, what do you mean the bed and the cats didn't kill you?
Yeah. So second night at midnight, there's a ruckus, and then a half a man tumbles down the chimney. And shortly after that, the other half comes down and begins to talk to him. The youth doesn't find this strange, but he takes offense to the fact that the man sits down on his bench. So he shoves him off. And with that, more and more men fall down the chimney. And with them, they bring 9 dead men's legs and 2 skulls, and they start bowling, playing at 9 pins. The youth wants to join, but first he puts the skulls on the turning lathe to make them more round, because I guess they were, maybe a little oblong, more skull shaped.
You know what? I've been trying to figure out what the fuck a turner is.
Oh, it's a lathe.
Is it a lathe to make something rounder though? Or is it just a lathe just to sharpen knives? And this guy's...
Well, no, a lathe is something that turns something so that you can finish it in a rounded manner.
All right. Anyways. All right. He's polishing skulls.
Yeah. He polishes them up so they're nice and round, and they bowl. He loses a couple bucks, but they have a merry time.
I like bowling.
Yeah. Who doesn't? Yeah. At the stroke of 12, all of this disappears. So he just goes to sleep by the fire again. King comes back the next day. Wow, still here, huh? I lost a couple bucks bowling, but all's good. So the third night, he's chilling as usual, and then 6 tall men enter carrying a coffin. The young man proclaims that this must be his little cousin who died a few days ago. Rushes over and opens it up and finds a cold corpse. He tries to warm him up, and then finally has this little stroke of genius. He takes the corpse out of the coffin, brings him to bed, and lays with him under the covers to warm him. Yeah.
All right.
But it works. The corpse warms and starts to move. And then, much to the youth's chagrin, instead of thanking him, says, "I'm going to strangle you," and proceeds to try to strangle him. This cannot stand. So he grabs him and throws him right back in the coffin and slams it shut. Next, an old man with a long white beard enters and says, "Oh, you'll learn how to shudder now because you're going to die soon." And the kid says, "Not so fast. I think I'm stronger than you." And so the man, of course, as
I've beaten old men before.
Yeah.
Old men are surprisingly not as strong as you'd think, old man. So
as one did at the time, the old man challenges him to a strength test. So they head out to the castle forge, and in rapid succession, the old man drives an anvil straight into the ground with a single swing of the hammer. And the kid says, "That's not bad, but how about this?" And he grabs an axe and splits his anvil with one swing. And in doing so, he traps the old man's long white beard. And so with the man, he's now tied to this split anvil at the ground, cannot move. And so the boy grabs an iron bar and starts to beat him to death until the old man begs him to stop and promises him riches. And sure enough, this is the final boss of the video game, basically. Brings him to 3 chests full of gold, explains that one's for the poor, one's for the king, and one is for him. Midnight strikes, the man disappears. Kid finds his way back to the room and falls asleep. Come morning, the king declares that he's won the princess. And this is where it takes that classic right turn. So the youth, he gets married, he's happy, but he keeps complaining he still doesn't know how to shudder. And this starts driving his new wife bonkers. So, they're happy and they're fine, but every once in a while he's like, "I wish I knew how to shudder." And she's like, "I wish you would shut up."
Shut her up.
Yeah. So anyway, the wife and her handmaiden get this idea. One night while the boy is sleep, well, he's now a king. One night while this young king is sleeping, they go out and get a bucket full of water from the fish pond. I think this is the same fish pond where he threw the dead cats and dogs and things. And they dump a bucket of water on him with little fish all flipping around him. And he sits bolt upright and says, "Oh, what makes me shudder so, dear wife? Now I know what it is to shudder." Scene.
The end.
The end. This is a long one, and it's a
This
long
was a long
description.
one. Yeah.
I was slapping together my summary, and it's almost as long as the story itself.
Yeah.
But I think it speaks to the fact that it's pretty fast paced. It just goes and goes.
All of Grimm's moves right along.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Oh yeah, we've talked about that. If you've got a page and a half, there's not a lot of room for
there's no world building, there's no names, there's no extravagance.
No consent.
Okay, so, yeah.
I'm curious what your moral is, because I don't know. Is suppressing fear for the win?
Maybe, and it's not even suppressing fear. Like the moral seemed to be, and I know this isn't what was intended probably, but is if you're not superstitious, even if you're perfectly smart, the public at large will think you're a moron, even if you're very handsome.
Yeah.
But also maybe especially if you're very handsome. And if nothing else, the other one is like, you can't get your shutters on. You know what eventually will. Maybe a lady will give you a giddy little thrill. And if that doesn't work, maybe your lady has a friend, a handmaiden that she's willing to. She's like, all right, he's not shuddering.
Can you help my husband shudder?
And if we both tag team this motherfucker, maybe we can make his legs quick. I personally have had some earth-shattering orgasms in 3 ways.
And there goes playing this for my kids.
I can edit that out if you want.
No, it's that they've heard it all.
Yeah. But yeah, so he's just not superstitious. That's why people think he's stupid. The motherfucker doesn't even believe in ghosts.
He is stupid.
And how is he stupid?
We know that.
I guess he doesn't know what dead people are. Although he
doesn't understand death. He doesn't understand. It's not that he's not scared of anything. He doesn't understand what fear is.
Or he doesn't get afraid. And
right.
if you don't get afraid, then yeah, it'd be an impossible thing to try to explain to somebody.
Yeah. And there are analyses. There are a lot of analyses of this particular tale.
Okay.
And many of them talk about the fact that he doesn't necessarily understand fear and what it is. It sort of ties into what you're saying. It's taken as something, it's an object of ridicule. And then it becomes a strength, and then it becomes, he goes out to seek his fortune and finds his fortune because he has no idea what fear is.
Okay.
Not only because he's not scared, but because it's literally what's driving him.
He wants to, the go out and seek adventure, or maybe.
I don't even know if he was seeking adventure.
Or just
he seemed content to just sit in the corner in his father's house until he got kicked out. There's a surprise.
Okay.
I discovered when I was looking into this. Nerdcore juggernaut MC Frontalot has a song called Shudders from the album Question Bedtime, which is literally about this tale. And it is a banger. I had not listened to a lot of MC Frontalot previously, but that song is quite good.
I'm way off here. Was MC Frontalot the same one that did Fet's Vet?
No, that was MC Chris.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Yeah. MC Chris is what I was more familiar with as far as nerdcore goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I will have to give it a listen. Maybe we'll play a little bit of it in the.
Yeah, I thought about that. Yeah. To tie into a point you had previously about the wife, that it turns out it's it takes a wife to make a shudder. There are a lot of different variations of this, and a lot of those don't involve the bucket of water and the fish at all. Mm-hmm. It's just he goes through all those tribulations and then gets married, and then sometimes it's nerves about kissing her for the first time, which may be a veiled reference to other things. Or other times it's just that she's like a stone cold, doesn't fuck around. And like, that's what he gets the shudders from. It's just like either his first relationship or the fact that his wife is not a pushover frilly princess or other things.
So it's Arn Thompson type 326 is the type.
Another thing that's interesting is this is heavily influenced by a medieval adventure of Lancelot, which was called The Marvels of Rigomir.
Okay.
Which actually features Lancelot in almost an identical setting in the haunted castle with almost identical encounters. I don't think it has the same
Does he go bowling?
No, I do believe he does go bowling.
Oh shit!
I didn't look too deeply, but it's from what I've read, it is near identical in the encounters that they experience in the castle.
Okay. Well, then,
I don't think it ends with a bucket of fish, though.
But I will say this: I think there's some good bits of parenting tips in this story.
Tell.
One, the father said to his son, he said, I have nothing but unhappiness with you. Go out of my sight. I will see you no more.
Yeah, so that line from the father, actually, that took me back because took me aback.
It's okay. You're like, my dad used to say that all the time.
Out of the house.
He said, fuck you, Johnson, even though my name is also Mr. Johnson. Get out of my sight.
So I'm reading along, and it's a thrilling story as you're going. So he's just pushed the sexton down the stairs and broken his leg, and the sexton's wife is freaking out. And she drags the father in, and she's like, "Oh my God, look at your son, Daddy Kratos, blah blah blah." And the son, this is one of the most rational moments in the whole story for the son. He rationally explains exactly what happened, his thought process, and it's legit. Like I would have been like, yeah, I feel like you've got a decent case there. Maybe check after you break the thing's leg, see who it is. Don't just ring the bell and go to bed.
First of all, you could have told us 2 days ago when it happened. Second of all, no, that's what I was saying earlier. You said, oh, he's stupid. And I'm like, well, he seems perfectly rational to me. If the priest's plan was like, let me dress up and go surprise the boy.
And I don't want to put it that way.
I don't want to say nothing, but if and to be fair to the kid, he was like, yo, anyone there? Who are you? I see you there. I'm going to push you down the stairs if you don't say nothing. And, lo and behold, nothing is said, and he pushes him down the stairs. Yeah.
I mean, it's legit.
Yeah.
So when he gives this rational explanation, and the father's first word is, and my mind, before he continued reading, I said, the father's going to realize his kid's not so dumb. He's going to realize this is a rational situation, a rational explanation, and side with the kid. And then he immediately says, get the fuck out of my house. You're an embarrassment. Which
that said, son,
it was a little bit of a gut punch.
It makes sense. That said, you did kill a priest. So off you pop. Anyways. Okay. Well, that's oh, go on.
Oh no, I've got one. When the half, I think it's the second night, the half body falls down the chimney. It took me a few readings to figure out who was saying what, but the half body falls down the chimney, and the kid yells, "Hello, another half belongs to this. This is too little." And that's when the second half comes down, which is beautiful slapstick.
Yeah. Well, then, thank you all very much for listening to Story 4, The Boy Who Went Forth to Learn What Fear Was. We will see you next time.
I wasn't the smartest boy in the household by a long shot. I knew of wandering the graveyard that is best met with an onslaught of something called shudders. It's when your body trembles and your heart skips, sputters, and you mutter counter evils and you grip onto your charms. I've never